Welcome to iRise Conversations with Joan. Welcome to iRise Conversations with Joan. My name is Joan Nwosu, and I'm the award-winning author of the book iRise, The 10 Secrets to Getting Up When Life Knocks You Down. So we had the pandemic in 2020, 2021, and this brought about the Great Resignation. And today, many organizations are struggling to retain and attract high-performing employees. See, being a manager is one thing, but being a leader is something completely different. In my over 20 years in the corporate world, I've observed that people primarily leave bad managers, not organizations. What it took to lead 20 years ago is obsolete. It really doesn't work in today's world. So as leaders or aspiring leaders, you need to know what it takes to be a leader in today's corporate environment and embody it if you really want to succeed. Our guest today is Carrie-Lynn Hotson. She has over 25 years of experience as a finance human resource specialist, a leadership coach, a facilitator, and mediator. Her business, which is called Inspiring Organizational Growth, is designed to support leaders in attracting and retaining employees. She is the author of the book, Knowing Who You Lead, that provides readers with strategic tools to use to build trust, improve communication, and engage employees. Welcome, Carrie-Lynn, to the show.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so before we dive into the pandemic, because everyone loves to hear about the impact of the pandemic, tell us a little bit about your own career progression, like how you got into HR and where you are today.
Yeah, I have an interesting career progression for sure. 25 years, started out actually in policing.
No.
I know, right? Policing to HR. So when I convince my interview candidates, can I apply for a job I've never done? I'm like, absolutely. Wait till I tell you my story. So I did policing for about 17 years, moved up in the rank to sergeant, doing a lot of leadership, though, a lot of leadership coaching. You're coaching younger officers. I was teaching leadership courses. And so realized that I did definitely have an interest in the HR aspect of things. Decided I'd go back to school again, got my HR certificate, and then ventured into HR senior management for 7 years. Yeah. So, and then, hit close to the age of 50 and decided, wow, I'm not feeling my own passion. I'm not finding I have a purpose and I don't think I'm fulfilling it. I really want to work with leaders and organizations and help them figure out why issues are occurring. So ventured out on my own, started my own business, wrote my book, and I'm actually also a college professor now. So I'm teaching business and human resources, which is resulting in being an absolutely fantastic link because now I'm working with the people that potentially are going to be your new employees. And I get to hear from them firsthand. What are you looking for? What are you frustrated by? What's not working for you? And then actually bring that back to employers, learn from employers what they need, bring it back to the employees. So I'm having a lot of fun. It's been absolutely great experience. I'm so glad I did it.
Wow, that's phenomenal. I used to teach leadership actually at college as well. And that was really fulfilling because it helped me really see what the difference is between the corporate world and what those people who were coming into the corporate world were really expecting. Very, very different. And again, we have a lot of people who've been in the corporate world for a very, very long time, and they're used to doing things a certain way, maybe from the 70s, 80s, 90s. And now you have this young crop of people come in with all their creativity and ideas, and people are like, no, I'm about to tell you what to do. I don't necessarily need your creativity. So I understand that dynamics and how that balance really helps to see things from a broader perspective. Okay, so you mentioned that you discovered that wasn't truly what your passion is. So how would you describe what your passion is today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would describe my passion as really helping people to inspire and inspiring them to grow. That's whether it's the organization itself, whether it's the person on a professional standpoint, or even a personal standpoint. I'm finding that things have really gotten blurred. People, they themselves don't know what their own passion is. And so it's so much fun to really explore that with them. and re-explore, why are you part of this organization? Why does it excite you? What do you want to do here? And how do we reignite some of that sometimes? So yeah, I think that's really the passion, and I'm definitely finding fantastic people to work with, people that are just, they've got the purpose, they've got the passion, but they don't know how. And it can be very, it can be very frustrating, but it really impacts their confidence too. So many people have been, pushed almost into supervision roles because, the people left, people retired. And so there was holes to fill. And so we pushed people up. We said, hey, you're great at your job. You can supervise. But they don't know how. And it's definitely a skill set that we need to go back to the basics. And that's what I'm working with a lot of organizations on. We just need to stop for a second and really create good, solid foundations for people to operate off of.
Yeah. And I don't think this is even like a recent problem. I think this has happened maybe in the last 5 to 10 years in the corporate world, where people are promoted and automatically the organizations or the management team, they think because you've been at this job for 10 years, you're going to be a great leader. You're going to be a great manager. You're going to be a great supervisor because you know the job. But what about the managing people aspect of things? Like, people never really think about it. They think, oh, but it's natural. No, it's not natural. And like you're saying, these are skills that can be learned. So what are some of the differences to you in terms of, you need to know the job, which is like the processes, how to get the work done. But what are some of the other things that people don't really pay attention to, but need to be successful as a leader?
Well, in my book, I try to give them lots of analogies because I always find that's harder or easier if I can kind of give you a picture. So I'm from Northern Ontario, Canada, and we like hockey. So I give people sports analogies, in this case, hockey. So what I tell them is, I want you to envision it as if I'm watching from the bleachers. I'm watching the game. I don't know how to necessarily skate and play hockey the way that these players do, and I don't know how to coach it the way that the coach does. But what I do notice is this player working really well with that player? Is this player getting really heated when another player comes on to the ice, right? Is there, some dynamics there? Is the coach trying to tell them the plays that they want them to play, but the players are confused? They don't understand. Is there enough structure to this, right? And so when you start to explain it to people like that, they get it. Yes, I know you know how to play hockey. That's great. But what I want to show you is how we can improve the communication and the team synergy. We can deal with some of these conflicts that are impacting your team, because every organization, they have these like rumored gossip stories that have gone on for decades, right? It's like the unwritten book that when you come into an organization, you get told about. And so many of those things, they've never really been dealt with because the leaders don't know how. So you just kind of ignore it. You hope it goes away. But I think what employees are telling you now is that, you know what, the culture that I'm coming into is just as important as the work I'm doing. So yeah, I want to play hockey on a really successful team. But if I go into the change room and this hockey team is grumping at each other and they don't say, nice things about how each other's playing, and they're constantly putting each other down, and there's this competitive edge, you know what? This is not a team I want to belong to. And the reality is, guess what? I don't have to wait for you to trade me because I can just go apply to another team. I like how that coach works. I like how that team works. That's the team I want to belong to. Yeah. So yeah, when you start to put it in that kind of context for people, I find they get it, right? And the reality is, without your team, your business doesn't succeed. So we need to work on the people. You can work on the process, but let me help you work on the people and those relationships and that trust and respect and communication that's impacting your financial bottom line. That's the reality of it.
Yeah. And I think it's funny you mentioned the bottom line, because I was just going to say that people never see the relationship between your happy employees, people that actually want to be productive and stay within the organization and grow the organization and your bottom line. If people are not happy, like you said, they'll just leave. And I think that's what the pandemic really, that was the huge opportunity that the pandemic opened up for a lot of people, because now you could work, you had access to way more jobs than before. Now you could just work remotely, you could work in different countries. I don't have to put up with your crap anymore. I don't have to be in a toxic work culture. I don't have to just stay there just because it's the only job available to me. So and I don't know what your experience was, just observing the Great Resignation, the impact of the pandemic. So for you, how would you say that has, like, some of the organizations that you work with, or the leaders, what are some of the common themes around this Great Resignation?
So I'm working a lot with organizations, doing a lot of workshops on, so how do we improve our hiring and retention, right? Those are the top key issues. How are we going to do this? We can't function. We can't serve our customers as quickly as we need to. We can't meet the demands. We can't even keep our stores open as long as we want to because we don't have the personnel. We're working overtime. Our staff here is burnt out. We don't have the lineage happening anymore. We don't have the corporate knowledge. So how do we improve all this? And I always, again, I slow them down and I say, yeah, I can teach you how to write a job post. But the reality is, if we don't fix the inside, that job post A is going unfilled, or B, even if it gets filled, they're not going to stay, because we need to do that true analysis of what's happening. Why are we losing people? Is it simply because maybe organizational structurally, we have a manager and a bunch of people, and there's no succession in this organization? There's nowhere for us to move. So maybe we have to look at that and figure out, are there ways that we can give people the ability to grow? That's what people want. People fundamentally want 5 things. They want to be valued when they come into an organization. They want to be heard when they say things. They want to be empowered to grow, and they want to be supported. And finally, they want to see that their leaders are, it's a learning organization, and that if you mess up as a leader, you're going to admit to it. You're going to ask for feedback, right? It's so true. I mean, but they're little things. It's not about necessarily the paycheck. Everybody thinks it's about the benefits and the paycheck. Well, if I keep increasing these things, no, sure, you'll get people, but if they're still it's still leaving, then we have to look at why they're leaving. So to be honest, that's the work that I'm doing with organizations. We're doing a deep dive and we're figuring out where are the issues. And there's common themes. I mean, sometimes it's succession planning. So there isn't any, there's no where for me to move. Sometimes it's that when I say something, I don't feel heard or supported. So maybe we need to improve those lines of communication. We need to ensure we have respectful communication. And we need to train the leaders on what to do when they get the information, right? They don't know. Additionally, sometimes it's training. That one's huge. I come from a training and development background, and I teach it too. And when I tell people is, if you bring people into your organization and it's a scattered mess, it's like coming into a house that's a disaster. I don't know where I'm supposed to start. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And then you're so short of employees, you just say, here, work here, or here, read this binder, and you're leafing through the binder and it's outdated and it doesn't even make any sense. And then you ask someone else and you say, so what does this policy mean? Oh, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Never mind. I don't feel supported. I don't feel very valued in this organization. I don't understand what my purpose is. And then when I can't do my job well in a month or two, guess who they're blaming? Me.
Yeah.
Well, we taught you that. You took a lesson on that. Where? On a computer? Right? Or there wasn't even a checklist. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. I didn't understand why we did it that way. That's what training's all about. And I think when I look at organizations, that is one of the fundamental errors we're making. We do not have training plans. We do not have onboarding. We don't have trainers who know how to train. You can't train each person the exact same way and think you're going to have the same results. Why? Because you have to know who you're leading. Yeah. right? We have to meet the person. We have to understand the person, and we have to understand ourselves.
Mhm.
So a lot of it is getting organizations just to slow down.
Yeah.
Let's
My
just
God.
look at what's happening here.
So many things came to mind, but for me specifically, two things. And I think some organizations, at least a couple that I've worked with in the last couple of years, they wear this chaos as a badge of honor. Like right from the
Mm,
interview, they're already saying to you, "Oh, it's a hot mess. Like nobody knows what
okay.
they're doing. It's crazy here." Like it's something to be proud of, and you're supposed to be willing, like, "Yay, I want to come into a chaotic,
Right.
toxic
Right.
environment." Like, okay, you know it's a hot mess, but no one's doing anything about it. Then
Right.
something, what magically I'm supposed to come in and fix everything? Like, it really doesn't work that way. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the second thing I've also seen is a lot of organizations are still not doing the introspection that you're talking about. Like, what is wrong with us? Why are people not staying? Why are we not able to attract? It's like, no, people are self-fleeting. No, people just want money. Oh, people are lazy. They don't want to work. So they're still not looking at themselves. They're not looking within to see where are we missing it? Where are we getting it wrong? Because yes, people are leaving organizations, but there are certain organizations that are still doing well in retaining people. What are
Mm-hmm.
they doing? But it's like, no, we can always hire somebody else. And they keep posting the same job ad. You hire the person leaves in 2 weeks, you post it again, they leave, and they're still not looking. So I think, for me, it's the world. I feel sorry for organizations that are not really taking the step, the things you're talking about, to really look at what is wrong with us. What are the things that we're not doing? Why are we losing so many people? Where are the gaps? No one's really doing any proper onboarding. It's just some documents, some files, outdated documents somewhere. How is that onboarding? How is that me understanding what I'm supposed to be doing? You go through a rigorous interview stage and you're like, wow, there's so much. And you get there, it's like, okay, what am I working on now? Yeah, okay, it's end of year, it's year end. Yeah, well, what's the strategy for this year? Oh, we don't have one. We just, it's not encouraging. And I wish that more organizations would do better.
Yeah. And I think the way now that organizations are coming to this realization is financial. I mean, it's bottom line, right? I have on my website something I call the retention calculator. And I tell you, when I show that to employees and employers, and I show them, it's not just the cost of rehiring employees. There's so many other costs that go with the lack of retention of employees.
Mm-hmm.
Everything from, have you actually figured out how much it costs to train each time you bring somebody on? When you bring somebody on, they're lucky if they can perform at a 50% rate, really,
Yep.
because I only know what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So how long does it then take me to get 100%? And how much money do you lose in production, efficiencies, customer service in the meantime? Additionally, you have to pay somebody else to train me or coach me, hopefully. Well, they're not performing at 100% of their job. Now they can only do 60 or 70 because they're trying to coach me. Well, there's more loss of production. Equate that into numbers. Now impact the morale of the rest of your staff because they're sick and tired of people coming and going, coming and going. They're burnt out. Well, now absenteeism is rising.
Yeah.
People are booking off sick because they're burnt out.
But what's it
And
called?
then you don't,
Silent quitting? Is that what it's called?
right?
Yeah.
Right. Or presenteeism, the idea that I come to work, but I don't actually do a lot. I'm present, but I'm not doing a lot. So what are all of these things costing you? Equate that for one employee and then multiply it by how many employees you've lost this year. That's how it's financially impacting you. So you can't tell me that you don't have time to put into figuring out proper training, training your leaders, training your coaches, creating systems within this organization and structure so that when I come in, I understand what your purpose is. You have a strategic plan, like you said. I understand, what am I to do? What is the role I play in this organization? How will you train me in that?
Yeah.
And then how will I be supervised and led and mentored moving forward? We have to invest in this, or literally we're going to see organizations crumble. There will not be the employees. They can't just keep doing it and putting up a hiring sign, because guess what? It's just gathering dust. Nobody is applying. And that's the other part that I talk a lot to organizations about. It's not about just putting in a post. It's about, when I talk to my students and I ask them, so how do you, what do you do once you get a job post? You know what they do? They go on LinkedIn, they go on Instagram, they research the company, and then they research the people that work there. So if I look at your, people that have associated themselves with your organization, and I'm looking on their Instagram or their Facebook, and I'm reading, oh, I just worked another 13 shifts, so tired, never get a break, hate this boss. And people put that on their social media. Can't wait to leave this job. That's what they're doing. They're doing a market research on you as a business first before they even decide if they're going to apply. So and you can't get away from it. Social media is what it is. There's a lot of information out there. So there's ways to leverage that absolutely to your advantage. If you are a great organization and people love to work for you, then leverage that. Have people tell them that. But if the inside is a mess, don't think for 1 second other people aren't going to share that. So we need to clean it up. And we can do it. We absolutely can do it. We just have to give people the training and the confidence to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I used to use Glassdoor reviews, like if I was
right,
what employees are saying, and
yeah,
I would take it with more than a grain of salt, because people, especially when people are not satisfied, they give reviews, and you want to pay attention to those, especially if it's a recurring theme of many people saying the organization is this and that, then you want to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
But I agree, at the organizational level, there's a lot for people to do. So leaders who are sitting at the table having those conversations, I think they should be bringing it up and making sure this is high priority in today's world, because like you said, you just can't keep posting those ads. They're not going to get filled. Yeah. So let's move down a little bit. So the organizational level. So now as the leaders, what can leaders do? Because I know that, as I remember years, maybe decades ago now, as a new leader, I was completely confused. Like my team hated me. I didn't know how to lead anybody. I didn't even know how to lead myself. So what can leaders do at their own level to retain? Maybe they have a small team. What can they do to make sure some of the things that we're talking about, communication, respect, trust, support, mentorship, what can they do to maintain or at least retain the talent that they have a little bit of control over, so within their team?
Yeah, good question. So the book that I wrote called Knowing Who You Lead, I did it in 5 parts, and I did it on purpose in a certain order. So the first section is, let's figure out who you are, especially for people that are moving up into a leadership role. It's so different. You can't lead the way you were an employee. You don't really know. You haven't used all these leadership skills. You're not even sure what they are yet. So we need to figure out who you are, what your strengths are, what your cautionary behaviors are. So what are things that you do that, although you might think they're really effective, weigh on other people and drive them crazy? So I give the example in my book. I use lots of examples. So for example, as a leader, one of the things that I learned was that I'm a very visionary leader. I'm a big picture thinker, and I think fast. So I'm already thinking 10 steps ahead. The Monday meeting might be, okay, here's what I think we could do for the week. Let's try this, let's do this. And then I didn't do a lot of direct follow-up, because I really trusted my people. I love the ability to work autonomously myself. So I presumed other people wanted that too. So the second part of the book is learning who are the people that you're leading, because you need to know who they are. And I learned through lots of bumps and mistakes, obviously, that, not everybody you're leading is the exact same as you. In fact, some people want structure. They don't like change. So the fact that you come in here flexible and willing to change and visionary stresses them out. So you need to lead those people in a completely different way. I need to have a Monday meeting with a list of items, my expectations of you. You leave, you come back to me on Friday. I give you the focus and attention that you need, and we go through it, right? I need to do that for you. Where someone else, I don't need to. But I'm only going to learn these things if I know who I am, and then I'm open to hearing who you are. And then we work through the struggles. So I think, that's a long answer, but the idea is that as leaders, we have to figure kind of where we're at. What are
Mm.
the struggles and the issues that keep appearing? And then let's do a dive and dig down and figure out the why.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. It's
It,
so much fun.
it is like, it sounds like fun. And I wish that all, a lot of people went through that as brand new leaders and not have to learn the hard way, because a lot of people, you get into it, you get burned, you probably get fired, HR issues all over the place, a team that doesn't trust you, that doesn't support you, productivity is dropping, you're losing people, and all of the stress that comes with not being able to lead people properly. So I think this idea of know who you are, because that's something
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of people are not comfortable doing. Who am I? Oh, I'm good, because we all think everyone's like us, but no one's like you. It's just you. So knowing who you are, I really love that. Really digging deep and having that self-awareness about your strengths, and then who are you leading? Because everybody's different. And I know, so like, I'm a visionary as well. Like, in the weeds, I get frustrated. But I do,
Mm-hmm.
like you're saying, as a leader, you have to be open to knowing the people that you lead. And if somebody needs a bit of structure, then you give them a bit of structure, just so that
Mm-hmm.
you're a good leader and you're listening to people and you're meeting them where they are, not trying to impose your own way of working on everybody. So I really like that idea. So is that something that people can do on their own? Oh, with your book, is your book, would your book provide them with everything they need to be able to figure out who they are and the people that they need?
Yeah, so it kind of goes from who are you, or sorry, who am I to who are you to who are we? So as a team, who are we? The fourth part is the hard part where you have to put it all into practice and make lots of mistakes and openly get feedback and ask for feedback to try to build that trust and communication that needs to happen and have those tough conversations. And so I pull from my mediation background to give you a lot of strategies.
Mm.
Here's another way to try this. And then finally, once we figured this out, then we can inspire organizational growth. Now we're ready to grow, right? We try to go from, okay, things are going bad, we need to grow, and we don't do the stuff in the middle,
Yeah.
right? So I did design the book so that people can use it and actually invest in it and start tools and strategies. There's a workbook that actually goes with it. You download it for free, because I found it was so frustrating. I would get a leadership book. It's great. There's awesome theories to it, but I don't know how to do it. Like, what do I do with this now?
Mm.
So I tried to create a workbook that people could use, set goals, have conversations. Here's an exercise to try. Here's a website to go to, et cetera, et cetera. And then additionally, when I do leadership coaching and workshops with people, we use the book. So again, I'll be like, okay, turn to page 36. Let's do this leadership exercise. I have one on tell me about leaders in the past who you've loved to be part of and to be led by, and people you didn't like to be led by. And then let's figure out why. And it's so interesting. It's so interesting. People will typically, and then I ask them about their own leadership styles, describe it. And it's always, they pull out the qualities of the list of the things they liked. That's what they're trying to emulate. And they're desperately trying to stay away from the things they didn't like.
Mm.
So let's say we were micromanaged, let's say, right? And you and I are visionaries and we like autonomy. Well, then I'm not going to want to micromanage anybody because I had that experience that I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't realize is that other people love structure, need direct, right? There's situational leadership. Some people you need to direct them. Some you can support. Some you can delegate to. You can't use the same style, but you're not comfortable with it yourself. So we need to work through getting you okay with it. Having people tell you, no, that's actually what I need from you. That's my need. And it's so interesting to watch like the aha moments happen. So although I think you can definitely learn a lot of it, and I think if you've been doing a lot of leadership training, listening to podcasts, that kind of thing, you could get to some of those aha moments on your own. But it's always more fun if they're doing it as part of a team and then they all start laughing at each other and go, yeah, that's exactly what you do.
Yeah.
We can have some fun.
But I love what you just said about the characteristics that we love from a previous leader. We try to be that, and the things
Yeah.
we try to avoid. And I think this is such an unconscious behavior
Mhm.
that we don't do, and you
Mhm.
just use micromanaging. So I hate being micromanaged, and I don't want to micromanage anybody. So it's a bit of a struggle, but not without real. And the truth is, I'm still not okay with micromanaging. But what you're saying is, you have to become okay with it. As a leader, your team might need that, which you don't really love. So you have to be okay with it. And without that self-introspection and reflection and really writing it down and that aha moment, you're not going to know, because you're just going to think, but I'm trying to be a great leader because this person was a great leader to me. So why is it not working?
Mhm. Mhm. And when you really start to dive down into like leaders that you really liked, and you think of different situations. So policing again is another great example, right? We could never lead the same way because it was very dependent on A, who you were leading, and B, the situation. If
Yeah.
it's a crisis situation, I have to be direct. I have to tell you, do this, do this, do this. Later, I can be more of a collaborative leader. So what do you think? What do you want to try now? So you had to kind of keep, moving and changing your situations. Some were better at it than others. Some like the command and control leadership style and try to use it in every situation, which makes no sense, right? But if you start to explore leaders that you really enjoyed, there may have been times when they used a more direct leadership style. And so sometimes for me, it's language. So it's not that they were dominant, it's that they're direct. They're not micromanaging, they're structured, right? They're providing structure. So if we can change the framework that you're thinking of it in, then you start to get to a point where, okay, yeah, I could do that as long as I don't have to micromanage. No, I'm not asking you, right? If we can just change the language we're using.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So what advice would you have for maybe leaders who are right now, it's just absolute chaos? The teams are not interested in them. They're not getting along. Like it just
Mhm.
looks like this is the end of the road for them and nothing's working and they don't like me. I don't like them. I'm frustrated. I don't want to go to work. I hate my job. Where can they start from? Like for brand new teams, like you were talking about, if you go through that
Mhm.
process, who am I? Who are you? Who are we?
Yeah,
It's great,
yeah.
brand new team, you're starting to form together. But what if you've been working with this team for a while now, for like a year, and everything is just toxic right now? What
Mhm.
can they do? There's some quick tips that they could do to turn things around.
Well, my first advice would be take a deep breath. Right. And we have to acknowledge that. So I do another thing. It's called predictive analytics, and it's in my book. It's like an assessment of who you are, your behaviors and needs. And so we all have a default kind of style. And often people will get very set in their defense style or their default style because we're stressed. I always say, like, this is the one that you go back to when you're feeling defensive, when you're feeling protective of self, when you're feeling shamed and blamed. This is where you're going to. And so now you have to picture the whole group is in their default styles. So we're not open to listening to each other. We're not open to, oh, all of a sudden I'm going to trust you. It's not going to happen because everybody's closed off. So in those cases, I really do encourage leaders, bring somebody else in from the outside. You can't fix what you can't see, or you can't just suddenly tell people, okay, so we're going to have a meeting to discuss what the issues are here. So I'd like to hear from everybody. Okay, go ahead. And then what happens? Crickets. You hear nothing. Nobody shares. Nothing. And then you leave, and now they're all texting each other, and they're going out to lunch and they're grumbling, or they have a second Zoom call, right?
Yeah.
Right. And then you're even more frustrated as a leader because you're thinking, I gave them an opportunity and nobody said anything. And I hear this from leaders. So in those cases, it's like, I appreciate that you've made the effort, and I appreciate that you acknowledge something's happening and you truly do want to try to inspire growth, but you need to let somebody else do it. And that would be where, you bring in an HR consultant. This is when I do what I call the aerial view. I'm not part of us. I'm not part of them. This is the beauty of this. I'm not part of this. I'm just here to listen. Here's the objective. And I always bring everybody back on the team to, what are you most proud of with this organization? Or if I was to come here in a year, what would you like this organization to look like? And you know what? They all tell you the same thing. I want to see us having better communication. I want to see more structure. I'd like to see respectful behavior here. I'd like the gossiping to stop. Nobody likes it. Nobody wants to live in that. So you start from that and then you say, okay, now share. And they will share with me because I'm just here to listen, right? They want to know that it's going to be fair and transparent. They want to know that you're going to do a report that everybody is going to have, seen. They want to know that there's, quote, buy-in, that we're actually going to do something with this. Yeah. I can't assure you of all those things. All I can say is I'm going to set it up for success. And then the leadership's going to have to do the real work. You're going to have to listen. You ask them to speak. Well, then you better listen and be open and honest, and let's brainstorm, and we can inspire growth here. Absolutely. But if you close off, you look at the report and go, well, that's not true. Well, see, look, it's all them. Then you might as well just close your doors because they're leaving. Yeah. But that would be my best advice, is that you need to call somebody in to help you do that aerial view. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes the issues that you think as a leader are really impacting everybody, it's not that at all. It could be something completely, not that it's completely different, but how it can be solved is something that didn't occur to you. Employees will say things like they want autonomy. They have to stop micromanaging us. But then you listen, and really what they want is structure. They don't like that there's no rules and policies. Mm-hmm. So it's like you want autonomy, but they actually want to know, because fairness is another issue. Mm-hmm. And nothing looks fair because it looks like you make a different decision every time, because we don't have policies to go back to say this is the rule. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it doesn't even occur, and the admin will be say, well, yeah, we have policies, but we've been working on them for years. We send it out in a memo instead. Right? So, but if you don't come from an HR background, if you don't come from maybe like that, like you said, the strategic goal, that mindset, maybe it's just not in your expertise to know to do that as a leader. You know your job really well. You know how to skate. That doesn't mean you can be the goaltender. Like a defenseman's not a forward. People have different positions for reasons. So we might have to figure out that you're missing a defenseman. That could be it too. You need another person in this organization. Mm-hmm. That could be the answer. That we need to do an org chart that's different, restructure. Who knows what the answer is? Yeah. Yeah. But it's fun to find out.
Yep, I agree. And I completely agree. Sometimes you have to bring in an external person who's experienced in figuring out these real issues, because again, you might just see the symptoms of the bigger problem, and if you don't know how to navigate the conversations, you never really get to the root cause of what the problems are. And like you said, if it's the same leader trying to run the session, people are just quiet. So if you're a leader and you're struggling, or you feel like you're not great, or there's something wrong with the people, it's not you, it's them, whatever it is, maybe now's the time to look for external help. Bring in someone neutral who can come and facilitate the conversation, so that you really get to the bottom of what is going on. What are the real issues and the challenges within the team, so that you're not just making assumptions.
I think that's the beauty, honestly, that COVID has brought to us too, is the fact that we have a lot of consultants. We have a lot of leadership coaches now that you can literally tap into, that I don't think 2 and 3 years ago, A, they didn't exist, and B, we didn't have the ability to remotely tap into people. So it's absolutely fantastic. It doesn't matter where you are, even in the world, you can tap into a coach or a consultant now. Mm-hmm. So I think the opportunity is really there for organizations to grow.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about the org level, we talked about the leaders. So what about the team members? And the angle I want to take it from is, like, I met a lot of people who they're super ambitious, they're good at what they do, but they're just not getting promoted. They're just not getting those leadership roles, and they're super frustrated.
Mm.
What do you think could be some of the reasons why they're just not being selected for these roles, and what can they do to increase their chances of being promoted to leadership roles?
Well, one of the other jobs that I do is I'm an interview coach.
Oh,
And so I've done that for about 7 years. And I actually started that job on my own because as an HR professional, I was interviewing people and it was literally breaking my heart. I would watch somebody, I'd see their resume, I'd see their application. I know they've been aspiring to get this promotion or this leadership position for so long. And then they come into the interview and they would completely bomb it. And it was heartbreaking to watch. And then I had to do the debriefs, which was really hard. But it was a common theme. So I'm applying for a supervisory position. I've always wanted it. I'm so excited that the opportunity is finally coming up. But you need to have started planning for this, like doing your own succession planning a year, 6 months ahead, not when the post comes up. Because we need to measure what skill sets do they need for this job and how am I going to get them or display them. You need to pull those job descriptions and look at them and understand what they're truly asking for. What are the rules the roles and responsibilities, but what are those soft skills underneath? Like, what does it mean to strategically lead? What does it mean to do crisis management? What does it mean to have, difficult conversations with people? And then we have to prove that we do it at a leadership level, not at an employee level. And so people would do their interview, and at the end, I'm like, yeah, I'm convinced you're great at the job that you do. I mean, I already knew that. That's why you're here for promotion, but that's literally what you proved to me in your interview. You're fantastic at the job that you do, but you didn't correlate it to leadership and supervision because you don't really understand what that is. So you need to start reading leadership books, listening to podcasts like this. You need to start to understand, what does that look like? What are the challenges that leaders have? How can I give myself some of those experiences so that I can truly, A, have the confidence to do it, and B, convince you that I can do it? And I think that's the biggest thing people are missing out on. They just don't understand. They see it as a slot on an org chart, but they don't understand what that slot means or what it requires.
Yeah, I agree with that, because you can be great at the job that you do, but it doesn't necessarily mean and we talked about that in the beginning. It's not the same skills.
Yeah.
To a team to be a supervisor or manager or the director or whatever, and to actually do the job. It's not the same skills. But people who are so good at doing, that's all they want to talk about in the interview. Oh, I did this and I did this and I created this and I did that.
Right.
Yeah, but how would you lead people? Well, I'll create this and I'll create it. Well, how would you lead people? And they really can't. Maybe they can't articulate it. Maybe it's just interviewing skills. But I think for a lot of people, it's that not being able to learn while they're still doing the job, learn all the leadership skills that are required. Again, like you were talking about, go read what the job description is, understand what exactly it is they're asking for. It's a completely different role and different requirements.
Now, from an organizational standpoint, when I talk to employers, I tell them, that you have succession planning that needs to take place. That employees want to grow within an organization. That's one of the things they want to be inspired to grow. So provide people with leadership training, supervisory training, coaching training. I mean, if I learn how to coach you and train you, I'm learning how to lead. Right? I might only be leading one, but I'm learning how to lead. Yeah. I'm learning how to understand the person, their needs, their behaviors, and adjust my leadership style, my teaching style to meet that. I'm learning how to set goals and action plans. I'm learning how to assess performance. That's all leadership. So invest in people early. Give employees, don't wait till you promote the person and then say, here, we'll send you a leadership course. Well, it's too late. I'm freaking out. Nobody trusts me. Nobody respects me. They keep challenging me as a leader. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. Right? So give people those skills ahead of time. All you're going to do is better your organization. There's no detriment to it other than you had to spend a little bit of money on training. So what? Your people are going to be better. You're going to be able to actually give them opportunities to view it. Do I like this? Some people will go through my coaching program and then go, yeah, no, thanks. Like, no, this isn't what I thought it was at all. I don't want to do this. That's okay.
That's okay. Yeah.
But you learned it. So I think that organizations should definitely invest in that as well.
Yeah.
That it's better for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so about your coaching now, what coaching programs do you have? Who do you work with, and how can people work with you?
So my coaching programs, currently I'm working with a lot of organizations that I would say are between like 30 to 100 people. That's kind of the group that I'm enjoying working with right now. It's not that I won't work with bigger organizations, but I'm loving working with that size because the leaders truly are working leaders. They're invested in the work that they're trying to do, which is also somewhat burning them out. A lot of organizations as well that have quickly promoted people. I'm working with those type of organizations. And it can be everything from small businesses to, not-for-profit to profit. It doesn't really matter because everybody's kind of in the same situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's fun. It's fun.
It is fun. So, but what about individuals who are thinking, okay, so my organization is not going to want to invest in me, but I want to get help. I want to be a better leader for my teams. I want to show up as a best version of a leader that I could possibly be. Do you have anything for them?
Yeah, my book. Yeah, definitely. And I did that on purpose because again, if you're going to invest in a book, you're investing in yourself. That's your leadership. You're giving yourself a leadership gift. And I want to make sure that I give you enough tools and strategies that you can truly use this book and start trying things. You'll learn more about yourself. You'll learn more about the people that are leading you. If things go astray, you can go back. Okay, part 3. How did she say to do this? How am I supposed to have this tough conversation? What words am I supposed to use? I give you an organizational checklist that you can do like with your upper admin and say, let's just honestly, let's sit down in January and figure out where we think we are. Like, how do we behave in meetings? How do we communicate? Is it effective, not effective? I speak to issues of diversity and inclusion. Go back and look at some of those policies and procedures and your interview processes. And here's things that my students are sharing with me that you could potentially change up and really, truly live up to your vision of being an inclusive organization. So yeah, the book is available on my website. It's available on Amazon. It's you can buy in Kindle format or soft copy, whatever people prefer.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's a book, but it's not a novel. It's not a read it once and dump it. It's something that you keep going back to. Sometimes you're looking at, you said there were 5 different parts of the book. Sometimes it's part 1, sometimes it's part 5. You come back to 2, you go to 3. So it's something that every leader, organizations should keep handy so you can keep going back to it as you improve and you go on this journey, because it is a journey. I know that's a journey. You're constantly evolving. The people you're working with are constantly changing and evolving. So you always have to keep going back. But here you have a whole bunch of tools, which you never truly find a one-stop shop where you can just say, okay, I need to resolve this. Where can I go? Yeah. Now you have the toolkit to be able to drive the change that you're looking for, lead people better, and know what to expect and what some of the changes that you can make within the organization and within yourself as well.
I have bosses now that are gifting it to their employees. Yeah, they're using it as a Christmas gift.
Fantastic gift.
Yeah. They're just saying, you know what? And I think what a neat idea as a boss to buy something. So I have one girlfriend who bought a bunch of them and she put like hot chocolate in a mug, and just like, here, have something cozy. And I'm wrapping it up in a book. And I just want to give you something that maybe will help you sleep better at night. Maybe will give you some of the answers that you're looking for, And I thought that's nice because that really speaks to the wellness of your employees as well.
That is a neat idea. And it makes people know that you're thinking about them. You want them to grow as well. So
that's
again,
right.
Being a better leader. It's not just about the processes and the job and the work. It's about understanding your people, helping them grow, because people want to grow. People are looking for how to be better. So yeah, so that's a fantastic gift. So if you're a leader, you have a team, even if things are not going well, that's a great Christmas gift idea for your team so that you can start to really, really instill some of those changes, have better teams. It's more fun when you enjoy going to work. with
Everybody wants to enjoy coming to work. That's definitely the theme that I'm hearing. Everybody wants, even on teams that, the communication isn't great right now, they want it to be better. They truly enjoy working for your organization. They just want it to be a place that offers them that wellness too, and that balance. And they need to be heard. So yeah, you can do it as a leader for sure.
I love it. Get the book. And if you're an organization and maybe you're in crisis mode right now, posting and reposting that advert and nobody's taking on the job, maybe you should get in touch with Carrie-Lynn. And maybe, like we said in the beginning, maybe it's time for you to really step back, just stop and figure out what is going on. And sometimes you're able to do it on your own, but I think a lot of the time you just can't see what you can't see. So you might need somebody to come in to really help you look at what's going on, why you're not able to retain people, and what can you do to attract better talent. So for any decision makers of organizations, because you know when there's trouble. So reach out to Carrie-Lynn and get help so that your people are happy and your business can thrive, because at the end of the day, your bottom line is being impacted as well.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yes. And your personal wellness is being,
yes.
Right. Leadership is a tough job. Yeah. And so I really just wanted to be able to help leaders and teams, really enjoy the work that you're doing and enhance that communication.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what final advice would you want to leave us with today?
I think stay curious. I think that's probably the best advice, that I was given. And it really works, that if someone comes to you, don't go into the shaming and blaming part of your brain and getting defensive and thinking, once again, they're saying, I didn't do things well. Just stay curious and ask, and just in that, you're showing them that you're actually listening, because they're expecting you to go to defense. So if you don't and say, wow, I really want to hear more. Can we sit down now? I'd like to hear what you want to share. Really? Because I was expecting a fight, right? Or that's not the reaction I was expecting. So my defense comes down too. So yeah, just stay curious.
Yes, I love it. And I think that's a fantastic way to end the show. Thank you so much, Carrie-Lynn, for being here with us today. Amazing tips on how to be a better leader and how to build better teams. Get the book. I'm going to have the link in the show notes. And if you're a small organization looking for help, reach out to Carrie-Lynn as well. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, this was fun. Thanks for the invite.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone for listening this week. I'll see you same time next week on iRise Conversations with Joan. Thanks for listening.